This is the first time ever that we've had a very sophisticated golf cart-like spacecraft, which is basically put into a cocoon, jammed inside the aeroshell when it goes through the Martian atmosphere, and it has to basically, like a butterfly, go through its metamorphosis before it can do the job for which it was designed.
Normally when you go off and try and design a spacecraft, you try and avoid things like deployments. Avoid deployments, avoid motors and actuators, avoid too many pyro devices. We have all of those things that you would normally just try and avoid in the design of your spacecraft because we have to.
It has to be folded up in a kind of a robotic origami. The wheels in front have to be folded in on themselves. The back wheels have to be pulled in. The solar arrays have to be nested up. The high gain antenna and the PanCam mast that you see on here all has to be kind of nested into a very, very compact shape. It is definitely 20 pounds of stuff in a 5-pound bag.
There's a lot that has to happen in the impact to egress phase. In the first day, we fire almost 50 pyros and get the spacecraft reconfiguring. There's the airbag retraction, there's the lander pedal deployment, there's the solar array deployment, there's reconfiguring the power bus, there's getting us into a configuration where the rover is ready to receive commands from Earth. And then at that point, we're in a state where we're collecting data, taking images, and transmitting it to Earth. That's the first day.
There's a combined 36 to 40 actuators that have to do their job. There's tens of pyrotechnic devices that have to do their job, and every one of those things has to be verified in sequence in order for us to feel comfortable with driving the vehicle off onto the surface.
If the airbags don't retract, we could potentially catch the lander when we try to deploy it. If the lander pedals don't open, the rover itself is trapped inside the lander and can't deploy its solar panels. If the solar panels don't deploy, we don't have any power to charge our batteries, which is our only source of power on the surface. So if any one of these doesn't happen, it's a bad day on Mars.
So the second day after the first night where it gets power is it has to make sure that it has good communications with the Earth.
We also can only talk to the Earth when we can see it from Mars. You can think about the sun rising and setting on Earth. Well, the Earth rises and sets on Mars, and we can only see and talk to the Earth when it's above the horizon.
After that, the rover must then stand up, which means it has to get all of its wheels, which are bent down like this, plunged out in all directions, and it has 6 of them. And then it must get away from the lander, and then takes a few pictures to see where it is, and then finally, checking all of its systems to make sure it's okay, it has to say, all right, I'm ready to be on my own. My next thing I have to do is I have to cut all of my electrical connections to the lander. This is a big moment. This is a birth, in truth, because from that moment on, the rover is completely on its own.
If you look at this pocket sitting here, you'll notice that it looks suspiciously like a wheel. And you'll also notice if we grab a wheel, that the wheel will sit very nicely in it. And these are pockets that were deliberately put in because we had to accommodate this wheel sticking outside of this tetrahedron. And these very same pockets and pockets like it are things that we have to be able to drive over and not get caught in. Now these ramps, what they do for us is they give us 3 different ways we can get off of this lander. The reason that they're needed is because when we do land on airbags and in the uncertain terrain, we can end up at tilts so that the entire lander is tilted to the side. We can have it pitched up forward. We can have a combination thereof. So what these ramps are doing for us is they're giving us the capability to go off in different directions and handle terrain that we don't really know is going to be there until we get there.
It might take as many as 10 days to get safely onto the surface. Or if we run into big problems, it could take as long as we need to. It's a process that we don't rush, and we do what's necessary when it's necessary, and we make no risks doing it.
That whole process, which is an exciting week right after landing, is called impact to egress. First time it's ever been done, and based on my experience, it's the most complicated and fascinating engineering sequence ever done on a robotic mission.